The first time I laid eyes on the matriarch of the Veari Dominion, I was certain I had wandered into someone else's dream or nightmare. The chamber was vast beyond belief, stretching upward into a dome of crystalline panels that refracted the pale light of 3 distant suns. A soft hum filled the air, almost musical, almost mechanical. And there, seated on an elevated throne that seemed grown from living metal, was her, the matriarch herself. Her presence was overwhelming, not just in size, tall enough to dwarf the tallest human male I had ever seen, but in the sheer weight of authority that radiated from her. I had expected a formal greeting, a test, or perhaps a polite dismissal. Instead, she stared at me with eyes like liquid amethyst, narrowed in curiosity, and then, without any preamble, she spoke. "You will marry my daughter." I blinked. Her words hung in the air, thick as the ionized fog that filled the chamber. I opened my mouth, thinking to explain that I was neither of noble blood nor from their world. But before I could utter a single syllable, she waved a tentacle-like appendage of glittering chitin. The room's gravity subtly shifted, forcing me to kneel without my consent. "Do you understand?" she asked again, her voice echoing like wind through a canyon. "You will marry the heir of the Veari. The alignment of stars has chosen you. The fates have decided." I swallowed hard. The words made no sense. Fates? Alignment of stars? Marriage to an alien princess I had never met? My mind raced through 100 questions, but somehow none of them seemed appropriate in that moment. I think there's been a mistake. I stammered. Silence, she commanded, and silence there was. Even the hum of the chamber seemed to still. Your presence here is no accident. The Dominion requires it. You, human, are chosen. I wanted to argue. I wanted to flee. But the truth was I couldn't. Not yet. There was something in the matriarch's gaze that pinned me like a specimen under a microscope. Even my instincts, honed through years of space travel and border assignments, screamed caution. Yet I remained rooted to the spot. Chapter 1. Arrival at Veari Prime. My journey to Veari Prime had been routine, mundane even. Assigned as a liaison officer to their outer colonies, I expected months of paperwork, minor negotiations, and the occasional standoff with local mercenaries. Nothing prepared me for the reception that awaited. Veari Prime was not just another planet. It was a monument to alien grandeur. Towering spires of biometallic alloys twisted into the sky like living sculptures. Rivers of glowing plasma traced through the streets, reflecting the light of 3 suns in a kaleidoscope of colors. And everywhere, Veari citizens moved with an elegance that was almost musical, limbs bending and twisting in ways that defied human anatomy. Despite my training, I felt like an intruder. Every glance seemed to measure me. Every shadow whispered rumors I couldn't understand. And then, when I reached the central palace, it all came to a head. The matriarch's throne room was massive, a cathedral of alien design. I had been briefed on her authority, on the political weight she carried, but no report could have prepared me for the aura of inevitability that clung to her. When she spoke, it was less like communication and more like law manifesting in sound. I began again trying to buy time. I'm Lieutenant Ryland Cade, assigned from the United Earth Council. There must be... You are Ryland Cade, she interrupted, voice like vibrating crystal. And that is why you are mine to offer. I understood nothing, and yet everything. Somehow, the threads of destiny had looped around me, and I was ensnared. The heir of the Dominion. The matriarch's daughter, Zyra, the heir of the Veari, was a figure of whispered legends, even among her own people. I had seen portraits, holograms, and ceremonial depictions before, but meeting her in person was an entirely different matter. She appeared quietly, like a shadow among stars. Her skin shimmered with a faint bioluminescence, shifting color as if responding to the ambient light. Her eyes were a deep violet, like her mother's, yet softer, layered with curiosity and intelligence. She did not glare or command. She simply observed, and in her gaze, I felt both challenge and invitation. "You are the human," she said finally, voice melodic, almost hesitant. "I suppose I should welcome you." I wanted to bow, to say something dignified. Instead, I found myself mumbling, I've been told we are to marry." She tilted her head, a faint smile playing across her features. "Yes, it seems my mother has made her decision. The stars have chosen." The words made no sense, but I could not ignore the strange pull that ran through the air when we stood near each other. It was as though the universe itself had conspired to bring two beings from vastly different worlds together. Chapter 3. Training and Trials. To wed the heir of the Veari was not merely a political act. It was a trial. I was expected to undergo rigorous tests, both of mind and body. Zyra herself guided me through the first challenges. The combat training was brutal. Veari martial arts were unlike anything human soldiers practiced. Limbs moved in impossible arcs. Strikes were delivered at speeds that made the eye dizzy, and every motion carried the weight of deadly precision. I failed more times than I passed, bruised and battered in ways I did not know were possible. Yet Zyra never raised her voice, only offered quiet guidance, corrected my form with an almost imperceptible touch. Equally demanding were the tests of intellect and empathy. I was expected to navigate complex Veari social hierarchies, understand their intricate code of honor, and interpret emotions displayed in ways that had no human equivalent. Each success earned a nod from the matriarch, each failure a cold, silent observation. Through these trials, Zyra and I formed a bond, not romantic, at least not in the beginning, but one of mutual respect. She was brilliant, fiercely intelligent, and deeply aware of the consequences of her position. I found myself drawn to her strength, even as fear and uncertainty clawed at the edges of my mind. Chapter 4. The Political Storm. Outside the palace, the Dominion was shifting. Factions within the Veari elite questioned the matriarch's decision to select a human for her heir. Some whispered of rebellion, others of assassination attempts. I became a target, though I did not fully realize it at first. A meeting with the Council of Elders revealed the depth of their suspicion. A human cannot bind with the heir. One elder hissed, tentacles coiling in anger. You risk destabilizing centuries of tradition. Zyra stood beside me, calm and unwavering. Change is inevitable, she said softly. And sometimes the world must be remade to survive. That night, our first real conversation occurred. Beneath the glowing canopy of the palace gardens, she shared stories of her childhood, her fears, and the weight of expectation she bore. For the first time, she laughed, a sound that seemed to bend the stars themselves. I realized then that marriage, though arranged, was not merely a political contract. It could become something far more profound. Chapter 5, The Night of Choice. The night of the ceremonial union arrived. The palace shimmered with iridescent light. Corridors lined with emissaries from countless worlds. I felt the eyes of an entire civilization upon me. The matriarch's voice echoed through the hall. Tonight, the heir chooses not only a partner, but a future for our people. Rylan Cade, you may not understand what this entails, but the choice is yours to accept or refuse. I stepped forward, heart pounding, and found Zyra waiting. Her hand reached out, not in command, but in invitation. I took it, and in that touch, I felt the culmination of all the trials, fears, and moments of understanding we had shared. The ceremony was alien, filled with rituals I could not fully comprehend, yet each symbol resonated with a deeper meaning. When our vows were exchanged, it was not simply a union of two individuals. It was a merging of destinies, the intertwining of human and Veari futures. Chapter 6, Aftermath. The days following the ceremony were both surreal and grounding. The Council of Elders, initially skeptical, began to recognize the strength of our bond and potential for a new era. Zyra and I worked together to navigate political intrigue, uniting factions that had long been at odds. Through it all, I came to understand that the matriarch's insistence had not been mere whim. She had seen beyond tradition, beyond prejudice, to the potential of something extraordinary. And in marrying Zyra, I had become part of a story far larger than myself. A story that would define the future of the Veari Dominion and, perhaps, the galaxy itself. In quiet moments, when the palace was still and the suns cast long shadows across the crystalline spires, I would look at Zyra and remember the day I met the matriarch and was told my fate. And I would smile, knowing that destiny, no matter how strange or improbable, had led me here. We were bound not just by law or tradition, but by choice, understanding, and something far older, the silent, unyielding pull of the universe itself.